Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Fantasy Fullback Dive, brought to you by the good people at the Roto Street Journal, acting as your lead blocker to fantasy glory, paving your way to fantasy excellence, making all your football-related fantasies come true. I'm your host, Matt the Truth Jones, as we come to you for the 8th week in a row in our big build-up show to Thursday Night Football. Actually, kind of an intriguing fantasy matchup tonight. Much more so than it would have been if this had happened, say, a week ago. We got a lot of I'll bet there's a lot of action in the comments today about what to do with these guys that are coming off injury, that are going to be playing potentially extremely relevant fantasy pieces. With me, as always, the Wolf of Roto Street himself. We would have been on the air a couple minutes earlier, but the Wolf is frantically changing his rankings to reflect the return of these guys. I'm dancing around it. Go ahead, Wolf. What do you think? What's going on?
I know, crazy night, Truth. A really fun one to break down, though, here with lots of studs. Cooper Kupp, first rounder, Puka Nacua back tonight, shockingly coming back. And just so much fantasy juice, of course, with Justin Jefferson. And then on the other side of things, some of those more questionable plays. Do we get in Jordan Addison? What do we do about these running backs tonight? So I am definitely excited to break this one down. I think it's going to be a very exciting, fun game. And, I mean, you look at last week, we had a huge showing. I think our record for Thursday Night Football, and we were talking about Saints, Broncos, and Bub Means. Now we get to talk about Puka Nacua. I'm excited about this one, no doubt about it.
Yeah, we had 1,600 people tuning in to talk about Bub Means, who really did not come through in any conceivable way. The Saints,
and we didn't expect him to.
No, we didn't. The Saints looked like a middle school team. I mean, seriously, I was like, I could not believe what I was watching. They were that bad. But let's get right into it because who knows? Maybe we'll have a huge crowd. Maybe we'll have a huge mailbag. Regardless, there's plenty of for us to talk about. But we get right into it. We see the Vikings are a 3-point favorite going on the road against the Rams. Over under a healthy 48.5. What are your thoughts on this right off the jump?
Yeah, just to toss out some betting trends for you, as I like to do. They've been very helpful in guiding my choices. The Vikings are 5-1 against the spread so far this year. The Rams are 1-5. That's really all you might need to know here. But in their past 3 games, too, Rams are 0-3. Vikings are 10-12 in their last 12 road games against the spread, 9-3 since the start of last year. Their road favorites this year in general are 24-13 against the spread, which the Vikings are, those 3-point favorites. And they're 16-2 against the spread these last 3 weeks. So a lot of the stats are saying Vikings. And I want to buy it. I entered the day thinking, okay, Vikings, this is an easy one, just 3 points. I think they're the clearly better team. But then I also think of, okay, Sean McVay on bye. Now you get Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back. Matthew Stafford, we're going to talk about shortly, very good against the blitz, which is what the Vikings do well. And then there's another stat about how everyone who's faced the Lions this year has lost in their next game. And they just came off a brutal, heartbreaking loss on Sunday, a 2-point loss to the Vikings, and now you have to go and load it up just 4 days later against a team that's right off the bye, that's fully getting fully healthy. I'm actually going with the Rams here. I think the Rams outright win it. Never mind with the points. And again, I know all the betting trends suggest I'm an idiot. I know the NFC North 17-4 against the spread in general this year. They're just a dominant division. So maybe I'll look like a fool, but the more I think about it, I just see a big night from Stafford and McVay, a fun battle here, and ultimately they end up coming through, whether it's just covering or actually outright winning. I think they win it. So I'm going Rams here. I'm certainly taking the over. I'm expecting a lot of points tonight.
All right. Well, you threw a lot of stats at me there. I gotta say, I'm saying the Vikings, but I'm also hitting the over. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for me not to like the Vikings, although every stat you just threw at me screams like you're an idiot if you don't bet the Vikings.
I know.
I still have a little bit of that I still romanticize the Rams a little bit because of that Super Bowl run a couple years ago. But, they've been pretty atrocious since then. I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen with these guys coming back. I don't believe in Sam Darnold long term. I keep waiting for him to turn into a pumpkin. And yet I still just think the Vikings are a better team than the Rams. And so I'm going Vikings. I'm a little nervous giving up 3, but I'm going to give up 3. I'm going to take the Vikings and I'm going to hit the over.
I think it's a matter for me to I think everything you said is very correct. And again, all the trends point to Vikings are the easy bet here. That's often where Vegas makes its money, though, is when you think there's a clear cut, this is the one to play. But I also think this game could have a bad case of the hungrier dog runs faster, and they just need it more. And the Rams, if they lose this game, season. They'll be 2-5 at that point. Then the fire sale rumors start to happen. Do you sell Cooper Kupp? Do you sell even Matthew Stafford? Is some of the swirling rumors these days. But if they win it, they can still be right in the thick of things in this division that's surprisingly not doing so well. The 49ers not looking like the scariest team at the top there. So I think this is a do or die type of situation for the Rams. I think they're going to come out with that type of mentality, and the hungrier dog will run faster and ultimately prevail tonight. We shall see.
I am pulling for the Rams, but I don't know. It's one of these things. I got to see it to believe it. I got to see it this season to believe it. Speaking of stuff we've seen, go ahead.
I was going to say too, and you're not wrong there. And their offensive line has been horrendous. Right. They did get a little bit healthier over this bye week, but they still have some gaping holes there. So yeah, it's definitely going to be scary. But I think you were segueing. I cut off the segue. Okay. There's some big news and some big returns. We've already kind of hinted at a few of those things, right?
Right. Well, I mean, the big returns, it's funny, they both play into our first two banner questions. I mean, basically, the big news is that Cooper Kupp is playing, and it's looking like Puka Nacua might be playing as well. Yeah. So obviously that's a huge deal. Our first two questions deal with those things. But you want to talk a little bit about them coming off and what we've seen from them this year so far, and then we can get into our thoughts on the game tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. The only other news I would toss out there, too, before we pull up our first question of the night is TJ Hockenson has officially been ruled out at this point. It was seeming like he might make his debut, at least in a limited role, but we're going to have to wait one more week, which is too bad because the Rams are giving up the second most points to tight ends. It would have been a beautiful spot for him to walk right into, and I probably would have trusted him in some of my tight end decisions. I have him stashed in nearly every league, just frothing at the mouth to get this guy back. And then Aaron Jones is off the injury report. That was never really in question this week, but we'll talk about him too. Pretty much a must start, we would assume, for most people. But yeah, you hit at this. The first question is, can you trust Cooper Kupp in the first game back? And I'm sure a lot of people in the comments are rolling their eyes like, duh. Like, yes, you have to trust Cooper Kupp. But I have gotten a few questions on Twitter, so I want to toss out why this should not be a question at all. And of course, keep filling up that mailbag, guys. We had a bunch of questions before we went live. Any hearts, the likes on Twitter, the thumbs up button on YouTube, shares and retweets, that really does help us grow. That's why we're able to get up to over 1,600 live last time. It was such a thrill to be able to break that type of record. I'm not expecting it every Thursday. It was the Bub Means vibe, I think, brought everybody in.
Yeah, Bub brings them to the yard.
He puts the asses in the seats. Bub Means sure does. But hopefully you guys can help us out here. Hit that thumbs up button, hit the heart button, the like, the share, the retweet, and we'll get to all of those questions in just a few. We only have 4 stories we want to cover. And the mailbag's not looking overly full right now. So keep filling it up, guys. Keep peppering those questions in, and we'll be hitting those momentarily. But first question again, can you trust Cooper Kupp in the first game back? Only one full game this year, 21 targets, 41 or 44% target share. I just don't see a way you don't put him in here. Never mind the fact that the Vikings have given up the most points to wide receivers over their past 3 games, especially. Wide receiver ones, Jaden Reed, 23.6 points. Garrett Wilson, 22.6. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, 22.1. And we're talking half PPR, not even full PPR. Those are approaching 30 if you go to the full PPR settings. So, yes, I do think Cooper Kupp is a no-brainer. Whatever your scoring settings are, you're getting him in your lineup, especially, again, with how blitz-heavy this team is. Cooper Kupp's averaging a 50% target share
50%.
On his routes against the blitz. He is the Stafford safety blanket. He gets open for him with ease. So, yes, I am absolutely trusting Cooper Kupp tonight, and I'm tossing him right back into my lineups. I really don't know. He's wide receiver 6 for me. You'd have to have literally 3 to 4 of the best receivers in fantasy to not put Cooper Kupp in your lineup.
He's worth taking a flyer on. We'll leave it at that. He's got some pluck. But now the less obvious question, but basically just the same question with another name put in. Can you trust Puka Nacua in his first game back? What do you think about that? That's a little less clear cut, I would say.
Oh, yeah. This one definitely gets a little bit murkier. There's some positive trends here. One, again, the matchup. Yes, they've given up, this Vikings team, a ton of points to wide receiver 1s, but they've been pretty generous to wide receiver 2s across these last few weeks as well. 22.3 points, 11.4 and 11.4. And that was to Lazard and Khalif Raymond, those 11.4 days. Dontavian Wicks had a 22.3 day against him. So already you're shaping up to a solid setup for the matchup-wise. And then I look at Puka Nacua, and it's one of those things. He gets activated. The window opens earlier this week, and they're so encouraged by how he looked that they're going to throw him out there tonight. I don't think they do that if he looks like really close to 100%, unless he's really close to playing everything. Now, there is the risk, of course. Sean McVay played Jordan Whittington last week.
Something like that.
And I don't trust a word this guy says. We're going to get Blake Corum more involved, and then he plays 6 snaps compared to 91% of the snaps for Kyrie Williams. So I don't trust anything he says. That's what makes this tricky. And he hasn't even come out and said anything like, oh, yeah, Puka's going to be in a full-time role or he's going to be limited. We shall see how it goes. But, hey, I'll tell you this. I'm looking at like Josh Downs with Anthony Richardson or Puka Nacua. I'm just going to take the Hail Mary stab and go after Nacua in a good matchup. Another guy that historically has been very good against the blitz, and we know how much this team likes to blitz this Vikings squad. So I'm fired him up where I have him in that range of like I have him right around wide receiver 40 because the reward is you get Puka Nacua, the rookie records of any category you want to name. This guy was lights out last year, but it's also the risk of maybe the knee flares up or maybe he's just in a limited role getting his feet wet and kind of using this as practice. The ultimate boom or bust risk reward type of play tonight. But like I said, if you're starting to swim around, I'll just quickly pull up the rankings and let you guys know who I have around.
Who you put in the vicinity of Puka? Like give me like the 3 above him, 3 below him.
So 3 above him, I have Hopkins, Jalen McMillan, Michael Pittman, and Tyler Lockett just ahead of him. Right below him, I have Josh Downs, Jalen Tolbert, Jacoby Myers, who I might bump up a little bit now that he's fully back to practice and probably going to get some looks. I have Cedric Tillman right below him. I also actually kind of love Cedric Tillman. I'd rather play Puka Nacua than Cortland Sutton. He had 0 targets and catches last week. Like, I'll take the stab at Puka Nacua at that point. Jerry Jeudy, no thank you. I'm going for minus 12 and minus 10 ECR on those two, but give me Puka Nacua. Why not?
Of all the names that you just said, I mean, honestly, I definitely have reservations about Puka. Other than Hopkins, I'm assuming you're talking about DeAndre Hopkins.
Yes.
Other than Hopkins, I wouldn't give a second thought to starting Puka over any of those guys you just said. So, yeah, I guess I'm more aligned with you on that than I thought I was. Like, I would start him.
Like JSN or Lad McConkey or like some of these like other guys.
I probably would start him over those guys. And maybe that's stupid. But, I mean, the fact is, like, we have not a very big sample size of even seeing Puka play a season. And he was dynamite. Now, granted, Kupp was out or a non-factor for a lot of that time. But we've seen he can be an awesome NFL receiver. He has a rapport with Stafford, clearly. My big concern wouldn't be like a flare-up or anything like that. My big concern, if any, would just be they're working him back slowly and he's only going to be out there for a handful of plays. I don't know.
It is a big concern, too. It's a very fair concern to have. There's no doubt about it. We'll see how it plays out. It's certainly a boom or bust situation, but I will mention, too, both these guys, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. We did highlight, I would love to get more views and more eyeballs on a show we did last night where we kind of call it the halftime of the fantasy season. We gave out a few awards for who has been the best players so far, the biggest surprises that we believe in versus the guys we think are fraudulent, surprises we're not buying into. But then we also looked and picked out, like, who are the guys that have started slow but could have the biggest turnarounds. And the Ram receivers are very obvious candidates for that question, but we went through a bunch of other names, 7 to 8 other guys. Show. Yeah, it was a great show. I loved it. We got Mo back involved, so it's great to see our guy Mo. So if you like our content at any point, I would highly recommend. That's more of a prediction looking forward show with a lot of research, a lot of statistics and analytics, and I highly recommend you guys check that one out. There'll be clips coming out from it too with Tunes and CJ going to work, but definitely to check into that halftime review show if you haven't already. From yesterday. I thought it was a great one. But back to Thursday Night Football. The numbers are starting to pick back up, 400 of you or so. Great to see. That thumbs up button really does continue to help us out as we get to our third question. And then we'll only have 1 or 2 more. I think only 1 more after this. So would love, again, to keep filling that mailbag, guys, because it looks like an early night if we don't get that more full. So please help us get out to more people. Keep filling that mailbag because we want to answer questions. That's what we do here. We usually go right up to kickoff, but the mailbag's done. The mailbag's done. So we shall see.
We could. I'm sure you and I could find something to chat about just to fill.
Yeah, that is also true.
We know that Justin Jefferson is a stud. What about Jordan Addison? Now, if for those of you that didn't see us last night on with Mo, we talked about who are our potential wide receiver MVPs for the season, and we kicked Jefferson's name around. He's consistent. He's right up there. I think he's a top 3 or 4 guy. Obviously, he's a stud, whether you think he's the best this year or not. But what about Jordan Addison? What about the guy on the outside? Better than we think? Is that what you're driving at?
I think he is. We haven't seen him for an extended period of time this year. He was banged up for a little while. But you look at the underlying data, specifically from Fantasy Points data. I love their data suite over there. And right now, Jordan Addison is leading the NFL in average separation score when lined up out wide. And the Rams, they've been getting a little better on defense as a whole, but they still are a top 10 matchup for wide receivers, specifically on the outside, which is where Jordan Addison is going to be spending the vast majority of his time. So in a game where we both expected to tip the over, second over-under of the slate, second highest of the entire weekend with 16 games on par, I really like getting Jordan Addison into my lineup. I'm debating right now whether I put in him or Tank Dell, he of the donut, last week.
God, that's a great question. And just so you know, we've already had some Tank Dell comments or questions as well. We are getting a lot of Puka and Kupp comments, but we've also Tank Dell's been thrown into some of those scenarios as well. Jordan Addison, Tank Dell. That's a head scratcher.
It's a very tough one. As of right now, in this exact moment, it sounds like we got some Tank Dell questions, so I'll let you guys know where I'm leaning on that one. I am thinking Tank Dell. He gets Indianapolis. They are so bad against wide receivers, especially big play threats like Tank Dell. But I just also look at him. He was dominant last year. He was unstoppable the entire season, and something just seems to be missing this year. Stroud also seems something to be missing there.
It seems okay right now.
Yeah, just okay. So I am a little bit worried. It's crazy that I'm almost like I have a little more faith in Darnold right now to get the job done for me with my wide receivers. So I don't know. As of right now, I have Tank Dell in. I just see that matchup against Indianapolis, and I can't, without Nico Collins in the lineup, I cannot pass that up as of the second. But I'll tell you, I keep going back and forth. The more I read about Addison and his separation abilities, and man, it seems like a good spot for him tonight. So maybe I'll need some Thursday night juice, and I'll just throw him in there last second. We shall see.
Nico Collins wasn't playing last week.
No. He did have, Tank Dell did have a 40-yard touchdown, hit his hands, and that's the issue.
Okay, that's not a great comment in his favor. To be fair, he did drop a touchdown. Yeah. That's not going to do it. But, imagine how many points he would have had if Nico Collins had played last week.
I know.
Couldn't have possibly done any worse. Jordan Addison, I'll tell you, if I had Jordan Addison on my team, I'd be starting him, but my receivers are terrible, so that means nothing. All right, let's hit the question number 4. Let's talk about running backs. Kyren Williams and Aaron Jones are must-plays, ... right? My instinct is a resounding yes to both of these guys. What do you think?
Yeah, I also agree. And the question honestly becomes sneaky. Which one is the better play? I think most people would lean to Kyren, and you'd be pretty wise to do so. The guy has 14 plus PPR fantasy points in 16 of his last 18 games, dating back to once he became the starter last year, actually dating back to week 1, because that's when he became the starter. So he's played 18 games since 2023 started, and he again has 14 or more PPR points in 16 of those 18. Only Christian McCaffrey had consistency that matched that last year. And he hasn't played all year. So Kyren has been, over these last 2 years, the best running back in fantasy, given McCaffrey not playing this year. 67% of his games, he has been a top 12 running back. He's only been outside the top 24 running backs twice in those 18 games. He's a lock. He is going to get you. It's unbelievable. 90% of the snaps.
He's been great.
Probably going to get you 20 touches. It is a tough matchup, and that's where it's okay, it's probably closer to one of those RB2 weeks for him where he gets about 14 or 15 because it says, top 24th in points allowed to running backs. In particular, the Vikings have defended the zone running really, really well, which is what the Rams do the most. So I do think it's going to be closer to one of those 15-point nights rather than a 30-point night. But then as soon as you say that, he has his 3-touchdown day. It goes nuts. He's in your lineup. There's really no debating it. It's more so if you're debating in DraftKings, for example, who should be my captain, Kyren Williams or Aaron Jones. I kind of do like Aaron Jones at a pretty steep discount, about $1,500 less than Kyren there, and I could see him outscoring him. Jones walks right off the injury, right off the bye week, 77% of the snaps, 88% of the rushes, clearly fully healthy. His best workload of the season came after the bye week, and everybody's speculating, is he hurt? No, he's good to go. 20.6 fantasy points last week. Money, absolute money. He has been a top 12 running back in 3 of his 5 games. I don't count that Jets game because he got knocked out early. Every other game, he's been top 24 at minimum. And 3 of those 5 games, he has been top 12, including 2 20-plus point days. So he's been lights out. He's seeing the best usage of the season as in these tight type of games where they truly need him. You saw it against the Lions and a close contested game. They're going to ride him, and I do think the Rams play this tight, and the Rams are also horrendous at defending what they do the most here. Jones has averaged 6 yards per carry, according to Fantasy Points data, on inside zone runs this year. That's 4th best in the league, and the Rams have allowed the 2nd highest yards per carry and 4th highest success rate on the inside zone. So, like, what does Jones do the best? What do the Rams struggle with the most? Seems like a perfect marriage of, like, yes, let's use Aaron Jones all night tonight. He shouldn't be a fantasy question in sit starts, but just in terms of, like, in your setting.
Picking the Rams.
Yeah.
And yet you're picking the Rams. We do have a super chat I want to get to in just a second. Before we do, I just want to throw the question out there. So in Kyron Williams' career, which again is not a super long career, I wonder how many games he's played in with a truly healthy Kupp and a truly healthy Nacua. How many times has that happened?
Not often, right? Because last year,
a couple maybe.
And there were some crazy stats. I'm glad you brought that out, Truth, because I remember heading into the year, I wish I had the exact numbers. I should have got this ready for tonight now that you said that. It didn't even cross my mind that, like, it was only about 4 or 5 games last year where they had all 3 of these guys in the lineup, and they were number 2 in points per game. Like,
Kupp wasn't, I think, ever like 100% healthy. I mean, but they did. They were dynamite when they had those guys.
And Stafford was too. And maybe that should have been one of the questions is, like, do you start Sam Darnold? Do you start Matthew Stafford? I think Darnold's the easier one. He's been a rock solid QB1 in the vast majority of his weeks. I'm definitely starting Sam Darnold where I have him. This Rams defense is not good. But I really think Stafford is a little bit. So, yeah, I have Darnold at QB6 this week. So there's a very good chance I'm going to answer yes to your Sam Darnold questions. Other than that Jets game, he has been rock solid all year with 3 of his 5-6 games being over 20 points. But Stafford's the trickier one because he's been a dud all year. But, yeah, like you were getting at, when they have had all these weapons at their disposal, Stafford was like the QB3 last year in those rare stretch run where they had every single person to him. They were, top 2 in total points per game. It was absolutely studly. So, yeah, I do think Stafford, I have him +8 ECR. Like, if I'm looking for a Jaden Daniels replacement plan, I think Stafford's a very, very good route to take. But we do have a super chat, so let's jump on into that one.
Thank you so much, BK. Thanks for your generosity. Sorry to make you wait. We were just finishing off that last question. But BK kicked us a little cash, which we really appreciate. And he put out a question. I feel like this question might be in the mailbag elsewhere already. And it's an interesting one. We're talking about, do you start Puka or do you start Tank PPR? Now, here's the thing. Both these guys scored 0 last week, but one of them actually played. So I don't know. What do you think, Wolf? Where do you lean on this?
This is a tough one.
It is.
For sure. And thank you so much, BK. I know the last time you super chatted me, I think it was like Doug. It was a bad receiver question, but ultimately I did not get the right guy for you. Like you gave 4 pretty bad names, and I think 3 out of the 4 were actually pretty decent. I gave you the one guy that didn't hit. So I really appreciate you coming back to the well here.
Coming back to the well after that. Okay.
I know. It's very generous of you, BK. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm reimagining it the wrong way, but I do remember you were very generous one Sunday, and I did not come through for you if I do remember correctly. So thank you so much for the support on this one. I think for me, obviously these guys both come with immense risk given the Tank Dell donut last week. I still look at this, though. I see the Indianapolis matchup. I see a guy that is at least on the field every single route, that theoretically has everything lined up for a monster game with no Nico Collins. The matchup is right. I'm going to go Tank Dell. I kind of take the stance with Puka in general, and we have a lot of questions, so we'll continue to use like different measuring sticks here. But it's one of those things where I would like to see it. With Kupp this week, I have no issue. He's practicing full. He's ready to go. Like, I don't need to see it.
And he's Cooper Kupp.
Like, his window just opened up, and maybe that is a positive trending sign that, like, the 3 days it's open and he's activated. Like, he must have looked really, really good for the team to be going that fast on him. But I still am just a little nervous. Like, he didn't even make it through week 1. He had this thing lingering in the preseason. You hope they took the right amount of time and he's good to go. But it's a tricky one, too. It's so tricky. I could see it being one of those situations where starts the game, and if he looks great and he's just ready to go, he might play every single snap and be the guy you spend a first rounder on. But if he's laboring, if he's limping off to the sideline at any point, if they get down big at any point, like he's a guy that might not play the entire second half too. So much risk there. So I just think as bad as Tank was last week, there's so much in his favor this week. I think this is the week that Tank Dell really kind of comes through for everybody. I know you're shaking your head.
I really hope you're right. Like I have him. Like I need him to do something. 0 is way less than I was hoping that he would score. So I really hope you're right. It's just one of those things where he's basically had one good game this year, and I'm waiting, man. I'm waiting. I hope you're right. I hope it comes together.
I know. Would you pick Puka or would you pick Tank? Which one
I would pick Tank. I would pick Tank
right.
because I do kind of agree. I'm not convinced that Puka's gonna play full the full snap count. I don't know. Maybe he will, but you're right when you say that Tank will. And what is he going against? Indianapolis? We said. Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm starting Tank and I'm wincing as I do it. But yeah, that's what I'm doing.
There we go. Michael Chang, thank you so much for your super chat here. We got a trade question coming on in.
All right. Trade Puka, Mason, Chubb for Bijan. Okay. Rest of the team, he's got JD5. He's got May, Cook, Achan, Tracy, Davis, Amon-Ra, Wilson, BTJ. Wow. Reed, Pitts, or just stay put. Puka would be put in the IR spot. Or he has Puka currently in the IR spot.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is a really tricky question.
He just put in the chat. He's 5-2. So I mean, he's doing pretty well.
Definitely doing well, even with the Puka injury. I don't know. This is tough because I look at your running backs too, and I think Achan's about to turn that corner with Tua coming back. One of my favorite guys to be buying right now, and so you have him. I like that. I think he steps it up for you. I don't love the way James Cook is trending with Ray Davis sneaking into that workload more and more. I love Tracy. I think he's going to continue to rise, but you can't feel amazing about it. And then I look at the wide receivers. I mean, St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, BTJ, Reed. Like,
but I mean, he says he has Davis. If we're talking about the same, if it's the same Davis we're thinking of. So I mean,
he's handcuffed. He's got the situation.
Right, he's smart. I mean, so he's got whoever the guy is.
Right, and it really does also boil down to like what happens with Jordan Mason, what happens with CMC. And if you watched our show last night, we did go in depth on CMC for a bit last night. And summary is I do think he comes back because the Niners really need him. This is not like they were sitting pretty at 6-1 and cruising through the division. Okay, maybe they rest him the rest of the year and wait till the playoffs. They can't do that right now. So ultimately, I think we're going to get CMC after that bye. And Jordan Mason will stay involved. There'll be a little bit of a committee, but I think it's going to be the CMC show. So I think you're selling high on him. I am intrigued by Chubb and Jameis Winston's offense, and maybe he gets it going. But I look at that, and I see your team needs, like, where does Puka fit in when you have this many good receivers? That just becomes a headache. So I think you're kind of capitalizing on your depth. You're selling Mason at the right time. I love Chubb. I feel like you might be able to get, like, Bijan in a piece here. But ultimately, it's not an unfair deal. Like you can work that one out. And I probably, especially the way Bijan's been trending lately, he looks damn good. So I'm going to say yes, a great playoff schedule for Bijan as well for the Falcons. So as a 5-2 team, setting yourself up there, I like it. I'm going to pull the trigger. It's a lot. It's a hefty price, but I'm going to pull that trigger.
It's a hefty price, but I agree with what you're saying as far as if you look at all these guys. I mean, you're selling real high on Mason. You're getting value for Puka when you don't even necessarily have a spot for him. I love Chubb also, but he's hypothetical at this point. I mean, the Browns are terrible. I believe in him, the player. You can get yourself a stud RB1. Yeah, I'd probably do it. I would probably do it.
Yeah,
good deal.
Awesome. You have such great depth, and this is what you kind of have to do when you're at the top of your league. You consolidate the depth. You get the studs with the good playoff matchups. I think you're pulling out the right strings here, Michael. So well played. I think that's a good deal for you. Good question. Thank you so much again for the support, for the super chat. We greatly appreciate it, Michael, for sure. And I think that's all the super chats we got. We went through all the stories we wanted to talk about ahead of time. Shall we open up the mailbag and just dive on in?
Let's hit the mailbag. Before we do, we are like an hour-ish, maybe a little more than an hour from kickoff. Got over 600 of you in here. Thanks for being with us. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, share this, tell people to show up ask us some questions. Right now, I mean, we have quite a few questions in the mailbag, but it's not an overwhelming number. We usually probably have more than this at this time.
Usually double this,
so,
yes.
Yeah, so we will. We're going to hit them all, and you got a chance to get your question answered early and often if you throw them in. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Get them all in, guys. We'd love to answer them for you. On the way, the way to help us get more people in here too would be that thumbs up button. Be so appreciated if you could tap that like button on Twitter, the thumbs up on YouTube, the retweets, the shares. It really does help us out so much. So thank you again for being here. But yeah, please do keep peppering the mailbag. Fill it on up. Because it's so wild, truth. Because it's like, I remember last week we were going live and we're like,
no one's going to show up.
Broncos, like, everyone's are we going to get anybody? And then and we get the record-setting numbers. And then this week it's like a great game with like, do you play Puka? Some great fantasy studs that you have to ask about, and it's like not even close to the audience we have. I cannot figure this stuff out. I don't even mind though. I mean, 600 a year is still awesome.
I mean,
it's
still a good crowd. Let's be honest.
It's still a great crowd, and we're.
You're right. I can't figure it out either.
But man, I cannot for the life of me figure out like what makes these things tick. So hey, if you're a social media specialist or a marketer or someone that can help us like figure out why these things are happening the way they do, by all means, we just love to talk ball, and I think we're pretty good at it. So by all means, we take any help. Shoot me a DM if that's ever interested in you guys. But yeah, let's dive on into the mailbag. Let's
dive in. Matt coming from X, Addison or Wandale?
I'd go Addison on that one. Just so much higher of a ceiling. I do, and I say this every time I answer a Wandale question. Like, you got to let me know if Wandale's question's at full PPR, because that's where he is a scam. He's going to catch 8 balls. It's probably going to be for like 40 yards. But in full PPR, you can't really not play Wandale. He's just such a steady presence in that. But I always assume if you don't give me the scoring that it's half PPR, and it just is a dramatic drop, even just a half amount. You look at last week too. The last 2 weeks for him in half that's standard rather. In half PPR, Wandale has 8 and 5. Before that though, 13, 13, 10. Fine. But then you jump over to full PPR and it's 18, 16, 13, 10, and 8. Like, it does make a very, very big difference. So I think, gun to my head, maybe even regardless, I'm probably going to go Jordan Addison, big play threat. Compared to Wandale, you're never going to get more than like 15 from Wandale. Even in full PPR, you might get 18, but Addison could get you 25. I go Addison here. I like the matchup. I think this game's going to be fun. I go Addison.
Me too.
Yeah, awesome. My man Eric, what's going on, Eric?
Eric, what's up, man? I got a QB question for you. Pick one to start. Geno, Russell Wilson, Murray, or Cousins? Wide receiver question. Juwan Jennings, Tillman, Pearsall, or Kirk? I have JMO suspended. Thank you.
All righty. Man, how do you have 4 quarter? Maybe I'm guessing some of these guys are on the waiver wire, and he's just like, I could scoop one and drop another and kind of figure it out. But if you're carrying 4 quarterbacks, and this is a single QB league, I don't know what you're doing. But my guess, Eric, is at least like Russell Wilson or one of these guys out on the waiver wire. Of all these 4, it's a great question. But with no DK, I think Geno in a tough matchup to Buffalo doesn't really intrigue me. Kyler has been so hot or cold, mostly cold, not mostly, very hot or cold. Like it's mostly cold. I got to go Kirk Cousins. I mean, the last time out against Tampa Bay, threw for over 500 yards, and I know Tampa Bay is far less likely to push them at that level without their key studs. And Cousins, other than that, has been very, very underwhelming. 135-point day against the Bucs, and everything else has been, 18's his next highest, and then you get down to 12, 8, 9, 13, 9. Like they are just one of the more run-heavy teams in the league, surprisingly. But Tampa Bay is giving up the second most points to QBs for a reason. The secondary stinks. He's already bombarded them. And I just look at Russell had 24 against the Jets. That looked great. It is nice, but I don't know. I don't buy it. He had 2 rushing time. Like I don't think he is fully trustable yet. And Murray's just been too hit or miss for me. Even though Kirk Cousins has been far more misses too. I just love the Tampa Bay matchup. I love what he's already done against him. What do you think, Truth?
I don't trust Wilson at all. Murray's been hot and cold. I've got to go Geno. As crazy as that is.
Even without DK, huh? In a tough matchup against Buffalo? Oh, I think I froze. I don't know if I'm frozen or the truth is frozen, but I'm going to keep reading. Let me know if you guys can hear me. I hope I'm good to go. Good face from the truth if he's frozen on my end. I hope you guys can still hear me. So just quickly comment in if you can hear me. I would greatly appreciate it. as I go through these questions and comments to make sure. I think you're unfrozen now, Truth.
Something crazy is going on here. Like you froze, then we were both gone, then I was gone. It was like I was in the Matrix or something.
Yeah, a lot of people saying Truth was frozen and Wolf was good. So, hey, I don't know what happened. But, yeah, you were saying Geno, and I had questioned, even without DK in a tough matchup. And then
that's fair. I did not hear that. It's honestly more that I don't believe in the other guys than that I believe in Geno particularly here. Who did you say you were leaning towards?
So I was thinking Kirk just because of how he destroyed Tampa Bay earlier and how bad they've been. I do worry, though, about Tampa Bay just not being able to show up and push them to the point he has to go. And I see Murray, as up and down as it's been, the last 3 games, 25-12, then 21. Miami, if they get their juju back, is probably going to be one of those games that they need to get some points. They're definitely not a great matchup for quarterbacks, at least throwing-wise. They've got a good secondary, Miami does. But they give up a ton of points on the ground, including 2 mobile quarterbacks. And that's, of course, where Murray does his thing. So, oh, man, I'm going to still say Kirk Cousins. Just I can't turn down that Bucs matchup. But it's a tough one. It's a tricky one for sure.
All right. Yeah, that's fair.
Good question. Then we had the receiver question. Sorry.
So I started answering the receiver question because I thought you were frozen, and then I was gone. Jennings, Tillman, Pearsall, or Kirk. What do you think? I don't love any of these choices, but what do you think?
I don't love them either. I would say I'll come back on that. If Jennings is in, I do like him. I mean, when he started and played over 50% of the reps, we saw it, 45.6 fantasy points, 46.5 rather. Let me get that right. The most points we've seen from a receiver all year in a single game, and in top 15 in the last 10 years. That performance was. He's averaging top 5 in yards per route run. The dude, when he's played, has demanded targets. 11% targets in every single game this year, despite running only half of the routes or fewer in the majority of games. So I think Jennings is a baller, and now no Ayuk. Debo, with the pneumonia, is expected to play, is good to go. So it would seem, and I think Debo's an absolute smash if that's the case. But I think they need a number 2, and of course Kittle's going to get his too. I just think Jennings, whenever he's on the field, he thrives, and so I'm going to roll with Jennings of this one. I don't like Christian Kirk at all. I am interested to see what Tillman does with Jameis Winston. We talked about him last night to keep pumping that show, the halftime fantasy season. We talked about a lot of these names as guys that could end up being those second half blow-up candidates. I do really like Tillman, but I've already seen it from Jennings, and I believe in the player. So as long as he's in, he's good. But, of course, Eric, you got to track that one heading up to Sunday. He hasn't been practicing this week. It is a Sunday night game, so if that one starts to get close, I mean, I guess you do have Pearsall, though, as a good, nice backup plan, but I would probably go Tillman if it's getting close. He's looking sketchy. But for right now, I will say Cousins, and I will say Jennings there.
All right, fair enough. Man, I hate Cousins. Papa Sarnoff says, "Up boys, half PPR. I need 1. Harrison Jr., Deontay, Jennings." He also wants to know Laporta or Kraft. So let's hit the receivers first.
Oh, man, that's a tough one as well. I mean, I want to say Jennings just again, if he's in, he has been a stud. It's not Deontay for me with Bryce Young. I can't trust anybody in a Bryce Young.
I agree. To me, it's between the other two.
You look at Marv, I mean, 6-0-5 PPR points in his last 3 games. So if we go, and he's half PPR, so let's check out. I mean, it's probably not going to be that much. 5-0-4 in his last 3 games. That's sketchy. Oh man, I think I'm going to go Juwan Jennings in this case. Harrison's kind of gotten to the point where I need to see it to believe it again. He had that great stretch, so it's like, 27, 15, 13 was looking real solid, and then it's been nothing ever since. So I think I'm leaning Juwan Jennings here. In terms of Laporta or Kraft, I would go Kraft. I think Laporta's done nothing. I know no JMO should probably step up here, skate to where the puck's going. I normally would agree with that, but you got Kraft at Jacksonville, like one of the worst pass defenses in the league. I think Jordan Love, another 4 or 5 touchdown day, is in the makings here. So I love Tucker Kraft. 14, 23, 1 dud, that 3-point day, and then 11 in his last 4 games. 75% of the time, he's been great for you, and I'm just going to keep riding that train because we haven't seen anything from Laporta all year. So I love Tucker Kraft. I'm going to keep riding that one. So I go Kraft. I go Jennings. What about you, Truth?
I'm definitely going Kraft. Your Jennings argument makes a lot of sense. I really want to start Harrison, but the fact is the production just hasn't been there. I'm not starting anybody that Bryce Young's throwing to. So against my better judgment, I think I'm probably going to say Kraft and Jennings also.
All right, here we go.
All right, Papa Sarno, one more. Half PPR, I need 3. Pickens, Dobbs, Tyreek, Bateman, or Worthy. Thanks again. Like and share the hell out of this stream, RSJ. Best fantasy channel out there. And Papa Sarno put that in at 4:21 p.m. Way to get in early, man.
Absolutely. Beat the rush, Sarno.
Love it. To me, Tyreek is a no-brainer here.
Absolutely.
Got to.
Got it. Tua's back. He even said, like, he cried, like, tears of joy seeing his guy return to the field. He said, fantasy owners, we're back. Get me back in your lineup. And I'm going to listen. He's my wide receiver 5 on the week. He has averaged over 22 points per game with Tua as his quarterback. It's a no-brainer. You play Tyreek Hill whenever he and Tua are in the lineup together. And then it comes down to these other guys, and I do lean Pickens for one of them. I mean, I know that Wilson has his faults, but what he can do well is just lob that ball up there. And Pickens, it looked like a perfect fit because Pickens catches everything in a contested situation. I really think Pickens is one of the best NFL receivers like right now, especially in contested situations. And Russ just knew how to cook it up to him. So I like Pickens. Giants shouldn't provide much resistance at all there. So I'm leaning Pickens. I'm leaning Tyreek. It gets trickier from there for me. I kind of want to just keep riding the hot streak of Romeo Doubs against the Jags, though. The best matchup for wide receivers. This guy's put up 18 and 13 his last 2 weeks, wide receiver 9 and 15 in that span, a 10-target day last week. He's the guy that you can every week that he's played over the last 2 seasons, he's led this team in routes. And I know it hasn't been the most consistent in terms of target earning, but now he's starting to do that. So I'm leaning Dobbs, Pickens, and Tyreek. Worthy's just been too inconsistent. Bateman's looked really good. If Flowers misses time, this does get tough. But
I'm going Tyreek, Pickens, and Bateman, actually.
Okay.
I just maybe it's recency bias, but I mean, that's what a lot of fantasy is. I mean, that Ravens team just looked ungodly the last time we saw them, which was, I think, maybe Monday night. I don't know.
It was.
And Bateman was a big part of it, man. He looked real good, and Lamar can really sling. I'm just warning you, it looks like my internet's flashing. So if I freeze in a second.
Yeah, right on cue. He froze. He says, if I freeze in a second, and then it cut out.
I'm back. Yeah, something's going on. My internet thing is next to me, and it's turning like weird colors that it doesn't usually turn. So something's going on here.
All right, yeah.
But anyway, I'm
going or anything. By all means, feel free
to
pop off for a second. Do what you got to do.
It's with my whole house. It's not just my connection. So I'm a little bit at its mercy right now, but I'm back for now.
All right, we'll see how it goes. No doubt. Yeah, but 14, 9, and 20 for Bateman in his last 3. I mean, he has been cooking. He has 9 or more half PPR points in 5 of the last 6 weeks. So I get it. He has been playing really well, especially if Flowers misses this game. I could see it, but I really love what Dobbs is doing, and that Jacksonville matchup is just
Jacksonville matchup's juicy.
It is so juicy. And thank you again, Sarno, for the reminder to like the stream, the thumbs up, the heart, and subscribe if you haven't already as we climb towards 5,000. We love having you guys here. Thank you again so much.
I get told by a lot of people like that, hey, man, I watch your show. You guys are like the best fantasy stream there is, and they all have different reasons. But, there are people that check us out, tend to really like us. So thanks a lot. Spread the word.
Really do appreciate it.
Omar F. Wolf, need one running back between Stevenson, Chubb, or Dowdle. This is full PPR.
I feel like I kind of keep riding Chubb. I mean, first game back, they were absolutely feeding this guy. And he looked no worse for the wear. It wasn't like Chubb, vintage Chubb or anything like that. But he looked good. I mean, he was fine. They were feeding him catches too. And I'm intrigued to see what this Browns team does with Jameis. I think he can really make this offense click a bit better. Now, Baltimore's a very tough matchup. Yep. They've stymied every running back they've faced, which makes me a little bit skeptical of him. But, I mean, last time Ramondre saw in New York, he had 0 points. In fact, he had negative points. I believe he fumbled in that game. And he's been iffy throughout practice all week. Dowdle, I don't know what to trust there. They were getting Zeke more worked in the last time those guys played. So I think I'm leaning Nick Chubb, and I know my rankings do not reflect that at the moment. So I'm going to make that fix as we talk here, Omar. But I'm going Nick Chubb. Yeah.
I'm going Nick Chubb as well. I mean, part of it's that I just love the guy, but I don't love either of the other guys right now.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right, full
Martin
PPR.
Frog.
Start 2 out of Puka, Shakir, and Mooney. Thanks, Wolf. Appreciate your help. I know where I'm at. What do you think?
I think this is one where I do bench Puka for now. I'm definitely going Mooney. Shakir versus Puka is tricky, especially with Cooper continuing to grow his role. But this is one, especially in full PPR, Shakir does get a lot of those layup looks. I feel like this is a one where I'd play it safe. I'd wait to see it from Puka and play the other two. What about you, Truth?
I would also go Shakir and Mooney, but if a week from now, I might have a different answer. But Mooney seems like a sure thing to me, but it's between Puka and Shakir. Depending on what we see out of Puka this week, like it could be an easy decision the other way next week. But this week, I would go with Shakir.
I think very soon it's going to be Puka over Shakir for you, maybe as early as next week, and we might watch this game and say, damn, it should have been already. But I think I'd like to play it safer with Puka if I can. And you got two good enough options to play it safe, I'd say, Martin.
All right, how about this, Mooney or Kupp? I'm going Kupp.
I'm going Kupp, and that's a no-brainer. Like, he's top 6 wide receiver for me. I think he's going to see 18 targets tonight. Like, I love Cooper Kupp. There's no doubt.
All right, Josiah's. I got Jaden Daniels resting on the bench. I know, me too. And Kyler currently starting. Should I drop Kyler and pick up Darnold instead? Kyler versus the Finns, Darnold versus the Rams.
I'm going Darnold tonight. I'd much rather have
Darnold's been quite a bit better than Kyler.
Really only one down game on the year against his former Jets employer. Otherwise, he's been great. And I think this is a good matchup against the Rams, especially if they push him. I mean, that's been really very rare. We've seen this Vikings team get pushed, and he still put up 20 points in multiple games. So, yeah, I like Darnold tonight. I think he's a nice, safe play there. The roller coaster of Kyler, I'd rather have the steadiness of Darnold there.
Agree. We actually answered this in a super chat earlier, Puka or Tank Dell. So I'll just tell you, we both lean Tank Dell.
Yes, exactly.
Tyler Sperry, would you bench the Cinders kicker for the Vikings kicker? Who do you think the Cinders are?
I have no clue. Tyler, I love you to death. He always super chats us. He's very kind and generous, but his questions always have at least like 5 typos in them. I don't know if he's doing it on purpose or not at this point. I have no clue who the Cinders would be. I will tell you this, though. I really do like the Vikings kicker. I have him as my 4th ranked kicker.
Oh, he said Commanders.
Oh, Commanders. Yeah, I would definitely play with the risk that Jaden Daniels doesn't play. I would much rather have the Vikings kicker because they could get swallowed up. That's a good Chicago defense. And so Siebert's been incredible this year, given how good this offense has looked with Daniels. But, yeah, without him, I could see them getting blanked. And meanwhile, you're going to get something out of Will Reichard. I really like him. He's had a great season so far. So, yeah, he's my 4th ranked kicker this week. I definitely go him.
Hey, fellas, do I start Monty or Chuba? PPR, do I start Devontae Adams or Amari Cooper PPR?
And this is for our boy, Mr. Giuseppe Russo. Great to see you, brother. I got to go Monty there. I don't like Chuba. He's been trending down throughout the last few weeks, and now you get Bryce Young back, who he was really struggling to do anything with, as the whole offense was struggling.
As was everybody else on the team.
Yeah, exactly. And Denver, a great defense overall. Give me Monty. I know last week Gibbs had a little bit of a better week, and certainly Gibbs, just pure talent-wise, Gibbs might be the best running back in the NFL right now. He is so fun to watch. But Monty's been so rock solid himself. A different skill set, great touchdown bet each and every week. He's only one down week the entire season. I got to keep riding Monty no matter what. So that was pretty easy for me. And I think I'm going Cooper. I talked about him last night at length and how much I love his rest of season outlook as his role gets evolved. Only 34% of the routes last week and still put up 16 fantasy points. I imagine that gets closer and closer to 70% than 80%, and soon enough, 100% for Amari Cooper. And a good spot against the Seahawks, a secondary that's really banged up right now. So I'm going to go Cooper over Adams. It is very close, though. What do you think, Truth?
I make both of those same choices, and to me, it's a pretty easy call on both of them right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Obviously there's a bit of hesitation with Devontae, but I like Cooper going for it. It's more like, I got to see it to believe it so far with Devontae. I believe it will come, and I believe he will start producing. But, I mean, it's not like he was lights out or anything when we saw him before. There's something funky about the Jets, man. I have more faith in Cooper on Buffalo than Devontae right this second. And, again, in a week that might be different. Monty over Chuba is easy for me, though.
Yeah, pure vibes check is horrendous on the Jets right now. Apparently, though, Adams did give like a fire and brimstone, like the best speech Aaron Rodgers has ever heard. And maybe that just squeaky wheel comes out and he gets a little greased up. But yeah, I'm definitely trusting the Bills vibes. Right now.
I'm not a fan of him or the Jets, but I mean, for them to be good, I think it makes the league better. It's more entertaining. So I hope they do click and kind of blow up a little bit.
Yeah,
I just haven't seen it yet. Otten or Ferguson, and people are saying start Love over Hurts, but isn't Hurts better? Good question.
Great question. I know you asked this one last night, Tyler, and I think we both said Ferguson, and I still feel that way. I went back and watched some of the catches that he made, though. He looked good. Like he really. I don't know if I've been giving him enough credit, and maybe it was just two huge mouths around him. He was making some pretty tough contested grabs and became that like moving the chains type of guy. So. I kind of like in a lot moving forward, but I still have Ferguson a bit higher. So I'm sticking with Ferguson over Otten. What about you, Truth?
Yeah, I'm definitely going Ferguson over Otten. Otten's the type of guy, like it's kind of like when we talked about like the type of guy where he might have even been the guy we were mentioning. Isn't he one of those where it's like, well, yeah, you ate something?
Yeah, he is that guy. Yeah, he ate something.
He's literally the guy. Okay.
But now it's been like instead of a bag of chips and a beer, you're getting yourself like a cheesesteak. You're getting like something pretty good and hearty because of how the season's worked out for him. You're not just eating; you're eating like a nice meal.
You're eating good.
Yeah, but Ferguson's been giving you those cheesesteaks for years. So I'm going to stick with Ferguson there. I think I actually, and I looked at my rankings. I'm going to bump Hurts down below Love. Love gets the Jags. Love has been lights out, multiple touchdowns. Hurts, of course, can run it and has that type of leg point upside and blah, blah. I just love the way Jordan Love's been playing ball, and I think he's going to nuke this Jags team. My only worry with him is what if they just kill them so much that the Jags are pathetic doormat and the Jordan Love doesn't need to keep throwing. That's a risk there, but I could see him throwing 5 touchdowns. He's done it a bunch already, so I'm going to go with Jordan Love.
I would love a cheesesteak right now that you just brought that up. That would be so awesome. God.
Have you ever had like a chicken finger cheesesteak?
No, but go on.
Oh, it's the best. Like chopped up chicken fingers inside the cheesesteak. My brother does a buffalo finger one, which I do like, but I feel like it takes a little bit too much away from the cheesesteak.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I would eat it. I would like all those foods, obviously, but yeah, no, I'd probably rather just have the straight up chicken finger one.
Yeah, try that out sometime, man. Your world would be shaking for sure. But yeah, well, I'm gonna go Jordan Love, and I'm gonna go Jake Ferguson on this one. Great options. Great options, Tyler.
Andre, Miami Dolphins are winning the Super Bowl this year. I'm not as optimistic.
I think he came in last night and said this, and we both just chuckled, and we're like, "Okay, Andre, sounds good, buddy."
Listen,
there's no way in hell.
Tua won't wear the Guardian helmet.
Yeah, even if he did last somehow, which I do strongly question, he always craps his pants in December. Like it's a yearly tradition at this point. They always fold. Mike McDaniels is a fake sharp. I'm not a fan. They're not making the. I don't even know if they make the playoffs, let alone win the Super Bowl. No way, Andre. And I love it. I love the enthusiasm for your team, but no way.
I mean, I told you last week that they had the lowest number of touchdowns scored in the NFL. I don't know if that's changed since I told you that, but it's pretty bad. We got a super chat. NC Firearms, thanks a lot. You've helped us out a bunch pretty consistently, so thanks for coming back again, throwing some our way. He says, got some injuries on my team, so this is what I'm stuck with. Start 2 out of the 4. Bateman, Tillman, Franklin, and Myers. Whew. Okay.
We have gotten to a pretty rough territory, but I like the first 2 you list there.
Me too.
We've talked about Bateman and how good he has been, 9 or more half PPR points in 5 of his last 6 games, coming off a 125-yard day. I really like Rashad Bateman right now, and if Zay Flowers is out, even more wheels up for him. That offense is just humming, and he's a big part of the machine. And then Tillman, 12 targets last week, 31% of them first read targets. This guy, big body, he's the perfect type of fit with Jameis Winston. And in a game where they're going to probably need to throw against the Ravens, and the Ravens have given up a top 10 amount of points to wide receivers. So, yeah, I'm going to go Bateman, Tillman pretty easily. I think my co-host over here is frozen yet again. Is that correct, Truth?
I feel okay.
Oh, you feel okay, but your face looks like you're taking a dump on the toilet. And
I just gave you a frozen face when I wasn't even frozen.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you're frozen over there.
I am?
Yeah, your voice is coming through, but you look like you're pushing a tough one out on the toilet right
Oh, God. Well, there we go. I
now.
apologize to the viewers.
I'm gonna remove you for a second and see if that snaps you out of it. Tough Wi-Fi over there tonight, Truth.
I don't know, man. It's Western Massachusetts. What do you want?
Yeah, this is rough. We can hear you, but you're definitely
All right,
definitely
I'm going to
frozen.
leave and I'll try to come back.
All righty, sounds good. Yeah, maybe give it the old restart over there or something of that nature. But we will continue marching forward here without the Truth. He'll bounce. I think he's going to bounce and then come on back. I will hit a few more questions without him for the time being. London Sherwin, what are we feeling about Jordan Addison? Like we talked about, the dude is literally the top in the league in separation score according to fantasy points data. One lining up on the outside, which is where he spends. I like him tonight. I think he could definitely blow up. It depends on who your options are. And you type in a few here: Addison and Debo, White, Mari Cooper. Now, in this case, I would go Debo. Seems like he practiced today, feeling good, starting to cook a little bit here. And with no Ayuk, it's just a smash play. So I like Debo. Sunday Night Football, that's where I roll. With Addison being behind Debo and Amari Cooper for me is how I would roll. The only one I'd have Addison above there is Rashad White. Jack saying bench one, Tyreek, Brian Thomas, Drake London, or Malik. Oh, Jack, you are stacked, man. You gotta make some moves or something. This is gonna be a headache each and every week. I do bench Brian Thomas out of this, and again, I love Brian Thomas. But Green Bay, they might shadow him with Jair. They've been a great secondary. They lead the NFL in picks. I can see them just destroying Trevor Lawrence in this matchup. So I'm gonna go Tyreek, Malik, and Drake London for that one, Jack. But wow, what great options for sure. Phenomenal wide receiver core. Sam Darnold or Geno? I would go Sam Darnold, Reed. Geno without DK in a Buffalo matchup, that worries me myself. Puka or Amari Cooper? I'm going to go Amari Cooper. Only 34% of the routes last week, 16 PPR points, and I think that role will only continue to grow. He looked great. The chemistry was already showing solid signs there. So, Dominic, I am going to go Amari Cooper and not risk Puka quite yet. Would you grab Wicks, Coleman, or Shakir or Bateman if Reed can't play? Reed's going to play Tyler, so I wouldn't worry. But shoot, if he misses the game, Wicks is an absolute smash play. So I would go for Wicks as the kind of like natural fill-in and handcuff there for him. I have Amon-Ra and Terry McLaurin going for wide receiver, Monty and flex. Is it worth taking Terry out and putting Puka in? I would not. I think, again, my kind of stance, a lot of Puka questions. We did cover him a little bit more in depth earlier. But the general takeaway, the general sense was I would play – if I have a good, solid enough option, probably right around the wide receiver 30-ish or so range, Terry's certainly falling within that range. I would definitely go see how he looks. Obviously, it's annoying if he goes absolutely bananas here on your bench. Yeah, you're going to be pissed. But you'll be happy to see it. It's happy to see Puka looking like Puka. There's my guy. You're moving around this time, not frozen right now.
It's the whole house. I don't know how long I'll last, but I'll be here as much as I can.
Yeah, well, we'll see you for as long as we got you, Truth. What do you think about Jacoby Myers or Demario Douglas? I go Jacoby myself, but
I do too. I mean, I don't know. I really loved what I saw out of Douglas 2 weeks ago. I was really disheartened by what happened last week. I don't know. I would probably lean Myers.
Yeah, tough matchup against the Jets coming up this week, and I mean the Chiefs are a tough matchup too for Myers, but I just think we saw him only for a few weeks without Devontae Adams, and he had I think it was 9 and 10 targets across those 2 games, right around a 40% share. So, yeah, I was a big fan of what I saw. Then we got Rexton Wofreshus. Start Reichert at kicker or McLaughlin? I'm going to roll Reichert there. Again, McLaughlin, another one of those ones, similar to what we were talking about with Siebert, when the offense takes a big step back, ultimately the kicker could likely take a step back. Now, maybe it makes him less efficient in the red zone, and you get that kind of narrative too. So I'm bumping McLaughlin down actually a couple spots here. But I still like him. He's kicker 7 for me. But Reichford is kicker 4. Big fan of him tonight. I think he's a phenomenal play and should be far more owned than he is. Quincy Jones, Jaden Reed, or DJ Moore? That's easy for me. It's Jaden Reed 10 out of 10 times. Both congested situations, but one of the guys is playing at an elite level. I know Jaden Reed last week had that 1 touchdown he dropped, didn't have a good week. But as a whole on the season, Jaden Reed has been an absolute animal. So I'm going to go Jaden Reed there over DJ Moore. Matchup is great for DJ Moore. I mean, last year he had 3 touchdowns against Washington too. But the matchup is also great for Jaden Reed. He's getting even more points allowed to the Jags allowed 2 wide receivers than the Commanders. So give me Reed performing better, the better quarterback, the better matchup. It all seems to line up for Reed. For me, Quincy Jones. Darnold or Mahomes? It's Darnold. Mahomes could honestly be cut in leagues at this point. This man hasn't topped 20 fantasy points since October last year. It's been a very long time since he's been fantasy relevant. The lowest ADOT in the league. They are dinking and dunking. They are running the ball down teams' throats and letting the defense win them games. And real life-wise, it's working. But 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Mahomes is not off to a great start himself. So I'm going to go Sam Darnold over Mahomes. Purdy or Kyler, asks Quincy Jones. I'm going to go – I think I'm leaning Purdy on this one. Cowboys defense not even close to what it was last year. You do get Debo back here. Kittle seeming likely to play. I know losing Ayuk does stink. But I think that game has a lot of point upside there. And so I'm going to go Purdy at home. And they're getting close to must-win territory. I think they empty the tank here before the bye, and Purdy has a big one. Rexton Wash Freshish. PPR, start Goff to counter my opponent with Amon-Ra, or should I go with either Baker, Nix, or Caleb Williams? I would lean, I think, Caleb Williams against Washington. I do worry about Washington just being a doormat if Jaden Daniels doesn't play. Now, if we get both rookies, that could be a beautiful gunslinging matchup, even better for Caleb Williams. It's crazy because Baker would have been the clear-cut no-brainer. We don't even have to worry about it. The QB2 in fantasy right now behind only Lamar Jackson. But losing Godwin and Evans, that's obviously a big hit to his stock here. I don't think I get too cute, though, and play Goff just to counter him. Tennessee, I don't think that's a great matchup. I think Goff's going to kind of have one of his classic, 250, 1 touchdown. That's going to be all they need from him. So I'm leaning Caleb Williams and then Baker would be how I'd rank those ones. Quincy Jones, is Kupp still a top 7-ish? Yeah, he's wide receiver 6 for me, even with Puka in there. I don't think Puka, my guess is he doesn't play all the snaps here tonight. Krana asking, Rock Paper, hey, 2 out of 3. I lost my co-host for now, at least. Hopefully he can bounce back in here, but I know his Wi-Fi was giving him issues, and he dropped out for the time being, hopefully getting that replugged in, figured out. Maybe he'll be back, maybe not. We do need to play some rock, paper, scissors, Krana, for sure. Michael DeGangi, PPA, top Addison, Shakir, Chubb. I am leaning Addison, and comes down to Shakir or Chubb for me. I'm very intrigued by Hopkins. Again, another guy we talked about last night on the halftime show. Want to keep pumping it. I think it's one of the best shows we've done in a long time. Hopkins' name came up a bunch in terms of what's his role going to be with the Chiefs moving forward. And I think he's going to fill that Juju, Rashee Rice kind of. I find the soft spot in the zone. I wait for the ball to get to me, and I keep moving the chains. I know it's not historically been what Hopkins does well, but veteran savvy, sure-handed. I think he's going to crush it. I just think we need to wait it out and let this guy get acclimated. It's one of the toughest schemes to really get down. And so we've seen that before with Andy Reid, people coming in midseason. It's taken a while for them to get their legs under him. So I'm going to go Addison. I think I roll Shakir in a full PPR, especially with that Baltimore matchup for Chubb. Krana, Flex 2 PPR Guillotine League. Worthy, Shakir, Hopkins, Keenan Allen, Rashad White. I am leaning Keenan in that Washington matchup. And I think Rashad White, especially if Bucky Irving sits, that becomes even easier. Wolf, Fibber or the Onion? Love the question, Papasarno. A true Beverly dive question there. It's got to be Fibbers. The best wings in Beverly. No brainer. I did a wing crawl once with my wife, and Fibbers came out on the top pretty handedly. So Fibbers for the food, for everything. The Onion's a great little dive spot and fun spot to watch the game. Cheap beers. Some great memories watching the Bruins take down titles there. But Fibbers is just a great food, great drink list. I go Fibbers there. You kind of go in there for different vibes, Fibbers versus the Onion. Paul Nelson asking Puka or Pickens. I'm going to go George Pickens there. Again, kind of falling into that question of if I have someone that's pretty solid, I don't want to risk and roll the dice on Puka quite yet. I'd like to see him look fully himself, get a full snap share, or at least be trending that way. And we just have no clue what it is. Once we get into that 35-ish range, sure, okay, yeah, tossing Puka, because we're tossing out Hail Marys when it gets to Josh Downs with Anthony Richardson, So if that was the case, sure. But Pickens is a top 20 wide receiver this week, so I'm going to let him rip, Paul. Most weeks it's probably going to be Puka, but till he's fully back, keep riding that Pickens train. Krana, Ferg or Kraft? I'm going to go Kraft. Just keep riding that, especially in the Jacksonville matchup. Stroud, Goff, or Geno 6-point passing touchdowns. I'll probably go Stroud in that Indy matchup. I know he's been so underwhelming, but I'm going to keep lighting him up. Anybody facing Indy is just in a beautiful spot. So, yeah, Andrew lost Rice. Whew, that team was studly. And I think Wright's a good handcuff there for Achane for you, too, in that trade. Flex 2 PPR guillotine. Watson, McMillan, Madison, Ridley. I mean, in a guillotine league, isn't it like you can pick up people who have gotten dropped by winning teams? Like, why are these your options? How do you not have a better team if you're alive at this point of the season? How have you not gotten some people off your waiver wire? What the hell are you doing? These are your best options in a guillotine league? Jeez, I'm glad you're still alive, but how are you still alive with these type of options here? I'm going to go Madison. I mean, he 80% of the touches last week, he's really taken over that Raiders backfield. So I'm going to light him up, even though the matchup is not good against the Chiefs. Still think he's the safest bet to see about 15 to 20 touches. So I'm going to go with him, and I'm going to go Wicks against Jacksonville. Just hope he blows up. Flex 2 PPR Guillotine League. Olave, Mooney, JSN, Adunze, Jennings, Tolbert. I would lean Mooney, and I would lean Olave with no Shaheed. He gets Rattler. Rattler did say he wanted to target him 1,000,000 times. I actually really like Jennings in this spot. So as long as we're getting Jennings trending the right way, Krana is heading into Sunday Night Football. It does become a big risk if he does not play on Sunday night. Then you could get yourself but I guess you have Tolbert as a fallback plan. So let's go Mooney. Let's go Jennings for the time being and see if we get any more info. And you're welcome again. Thank you, Michael Chang, for the generous super chat earlier. And like you said, you agree CMC will be back. They need him. And so we shall see. We are well ahead in the first hour here, guys. One last call. The 800 of you here. We usually hit that 1,000 or so mark. 800 is still awesome. So appreciative that you guys are willing to spend your Thursday pregame with me. But please do consider, if you like what you're hearing, hit that thumbs up on YouTube, hit the heart button on Twitter, the shares. A lot of new names I'm starting to see out here, and would love to have you guys join and sub the channel, help us boost the numbers out. It really does go such a long way. Pick 2 for Krana: Neighbors, McLaurin, Reed, or Bateman. Now we're getting some good questions from you, Krana. These are the teams I like. Jane Reed is the no-brainer, and I got to keep going with Malik Neighbors. Kind of a squeaky wheel narrative that he said, I was open. Dayball said, yeah, he was. We just need to give him the ball more. And so I like Reed and Neighbors in this one, especially the QB questions for McLaurin. Puka or Pickens? You already asked that one, Paul. We're going to go Pickens in that case. Start 2 PPR: Jacobs, Mason, Aaron Jones, or Chubb. Whew, good question, Cron. Now you got the teams rolling. I would say that Aaron Jones is the 110% lock on this one. And then I would probably roll Mason. One of his last games here as the starter, he's going to be motivated to ball out. So yeah, I like going Aaron Jones, and I like going Jordan Mason from these options here. That's the way I would play that. I think they're both tiers ahead of the other. I mean, Jacobs is right in that mix too, but I have the other two just a bit ahead of him. PPR, start Goff to counter my opponent. You already asked that one, Rex. We're going to keep moving on. Puka tonight, Waddle, or I'm going to go Waddle. Tua back. Let's treat him like the top 25 wide receiver. He 100% is. Bench Tutu for Hunter Henry. I would, I think I would with Puka and Cooper Kupp back. I could see, Demarcus Robinson kind of just sticks on there because he's a good blocker, plays his role. I don't think Tutu's going to play ahead of him. Now, if he does, that's going to be a huge note. I'd kind of hang on to Tutu to see if he can play ahead of DeMarcus. He's more talented. He probably should. But again, it's more of the blocking stuff that keeps Robinson on the field. So in that case, yeah, I'd go Hunter Henry. The Jets are much better against receivers. He kind of is the main vein for Drake May so far. What's up, Jaws? Peace to you too, sir. T, Jaden Reed or Deontay? It's Jaden Reed 10 out of 10 times against Jacksonville nonetheless too. Even better. Let's go. Kittle, Njoku, or Ott. And I'm sorry, it's Kittle, Krana. It's Kittle. Kittle, number 1 tight end of the week, of the rest of the season with no Debo. It's a no-brainer, Krana. Fire up, Kittle. Jordan Addison or Najee asked to here. I got to keep riding Najee. Not nearly as exciting as it is for Jordan Addison. The ceiling is a masterpiece there. But Najee's just been so rock solid, 20-plus touches a week, and they're cooking on the ground, and Russ looked good. So let's go. I'm all about it. Is Kupp or Nacua active? Yeah, both those guys, Forrest, L7W, are going to be active tonight. Kupp was full, practiced in all weekend full. doesn't seem like he's going to have any type of restraints. Nacua is more up in the air. They say they kind of want to see how it goes and then figure out his role from there. But I do look at that where quick activation, the window opened just a few days ago. They saw enough to say, let's get this guy in. But Sean McVay's been so weird with his usage of people. So, Jordan Whittington active, but not even playing a single snap last week type of thing. So there's definitely risk with Nacua. I think there's no risk with Kupp, a top 6 wide receiver. Nacua more so wide receiver 35-40 range for me. Obviously has the upside. If he looks good and is playing well, he could be right back to Puka Nacua, the record-setting rookie of last year. But it's a tricky one with him. No hesitation with Kupp. Definitely a little hesitation there with Nacua. And to hear confirming it was PPR, there we go. Wolf, best teacher in the Hey, thank you, man. I am a teacher. I don't know if you're at the school I teach at or not, Forrest. I'm not sure, but if you are, shout out. Good to see you. I'm glad you respect teachers. Greatly appreciate your thing today. Bless America. Let's go. Indeed. God bless. Let's go. God bless to you, Forrest. Thank you so much. Let's go. Puka or Addison? I would go Addison in that case, Darius. Again, carrying that trend with Puka. I have something decent, I'm going to play it ahead and see how he looks so far. Oh, yeah, so that was the Vikings kicker, Tyler, for you there. Kyler Murray's a terrible QB. Got a little dwarf. I mean, it is funny watching him run out there. Like, it is funny for sure. He's a terrible QB, but he's a pretty good fantasy QB when all the chips come together the right way because he can run. He has that quote-unquote Konami upside there for sure. Should I play Puka or Shakir this week? I would go Shakir, Dylan. That is getting close to the line as well. And a lot of people were telling me they do think they could hear me and not the truth here. So that truth was the one that was frozen. What was the answer of Puka or Tank? It was Tank for me, the Hoover House. Again, I feel like I keep repeating myself, but I want to see it with Puka, especially maybe I'm just a little gun shy after Whittington and the sketchy usage and he was active but not playing. I don't think they would do that with Puka. Like, why? You have this all the price. I really do think he looked good enough to play, and it's going to be a matter of first half. Does he get out there with no setbacks? Does he look like Puka Nacua? He might play the whole second half and then be a beast. Maybe he does have a setback, though. Maybe he looks like there's a little hitch in his step, and they reel him back, and he only plays one half of the game. You never know how it's going to go with him. And so give me Tank in a great matchup against Indianapolis is what I would say. MHJ, Lockett, or Myers, PPR. Thanks, guys, and go Bears. Krana. I wish it was the battle of the rookie QBs. That was setting up to be a great game this weekend, but it does seem like Daniel's most likely to miss it. I would go – this is where you just go with MHJ. Like Lockett, Myers, Lockett. I guess no DK Lockett does pick up some steam. Myers did have a nice target share, but I'm just going to go for MHJ, go for the ceiling there. Puka or BTJ, flexible PPR for Paul Segato. I would definitely go BTJ here, Paul. There could become a time where Puka is going over BTJ, but right now, BTJ, top 12 wide receiver for me this week, top 12 in the rest of the season, big board. Love the guy. He's an absolute superstar, and we know Puka is too once he's healthy, but BTJ, a great reason to find out if Puka is healthy or not. So definitely ride out the BTJ train. You've asked that one a bunch, Rex, so we're just going to skip you over for now. Addison or Puka. I would go again. I would go Addison over Puka for that one. We do have a few repeat questions, guys. Just a reminder, don't repeat your questions. Our moderator will put you in timeout most of the days. Campanelli can't be here tonight. He got some stuff going on. So we love you, Campanelli. Hope all is going well for you. But yeah, please don't repeat your questions. If you're new around here, we do get to everything. We do hate when you repeat your questions, though. And it results in your question not getting answered because you get put in timeout. But we'd love to have you rejoin us, too. Hit that sub button now that you know the kind of rules. A lot of great questions from you guys. Just please don't repeat them. Superflex, bench one. Josh, come on, Kane Katie. You're going to bench Josh Allen in Superflex League. You don't need to ask that, but Josh Allen is certainly in your lineup. I would play Darnold over Kyler Murray as well. But come on, you don't need to ask about that one. Hold off on Nacua. Yeah, I would hold off on Nacua with those two, especially in your lineup for sure. Last week, I benched Coleman and played Shakir. Yeah, Dylan, it's tricky because Coleman is more boom or bust. When he booms, it's going to look rough. But Shakir is just the much safer guy. I would play Shakir over Puka for now. It's risky, though. It is definitely tough. Nacua is playing. Kupp definitely is, too. But Nacua seems like he's got a lot more red tape around him today. McMillan or Nick Chubb? I would go Nick Chubb in that one, Chai one. I am very intrigued to see what McMillan does. Think of all the receivers. This is an explosive attack. I think it will still be solid. I think Baker's playing that well. I think Liam Cohen's calling that good of a game. I think McMillan does have the upside to be that true number one. But let's see it. Let's see him emerge. Whereas Nick Chubb, like we just saw, he looked solid, got a touchdown. The team clearly is trying to build their offense around him. So I'm going to keep riding Nick Chubb moving forward there. Have Addison, Bateman, and Metcalf on another. Nice receivers. Nacua is starting, but may be on a rep count. That's what the report is. I think it all comes down to how he looks. It's a big risk, big reward, though. If you're in a spot where you're a big underdog and you need to roll those dice, yeah, I mean, the upside is there. Addison will have his best game of his career. He's had some huge games in his career, Al. That'd be asking for a lot. Like, he's had some 30-point efforts, monster days. So, hey, man, if he does have that, good God. Like, let's go. Seahawks offense is great. I like that game. It's going to be fantasy friendly. Hoping Metcalf. Seems like Metcalf is not going to play for us. We shall see. A diva Pickens. Yeah, he could be a diva. There's no doubt about it, but it's looking good. Something's up with Smith and Metcalf. It doesn't seem like him. Anyone starting Puka? Body hoping for some Puka buddies out there with him. But right now, it does seem tricky to trust. NC Firearms jumping the line with another super chat. You've already tossed us $10 and now another $2. Thank you so much, NC Firearms, for your generosity. Asking start Darnold, Tua, or Cousins. I'm going to go Sam Darnold. I love the way he's rolling. I love the matchup tonight. I think this game is going to be a fun one. The second highest over total on the slate. My next one up would be Cousins against Tampa Bay. We saw it, 500 passing yards, 35 points against them last time, and they've given the second most points to QBs. It's been a smash play every single week. Have QBs against the Bucks bend, but I feel a little bit safer in this game requiring Darnold to do more. I could see Cousins them just handing it off all day, which they've done in all but one game, really. So I'm going to go Darnold. Tua, I do like the matchup. I'm intrigued to see how he looks, but I'd like to see him make it through a game, similar to how we're doing like Puka tonight. I would do that myself. So I'm going to go with Darnold. Thank you again, NC Firearms. So generous with all these super chats so far. All right, and then we left off at so you were calling him a diva, and we were at is anyone starting Puka again? He's right around wide receiver 40 or so for me. I'm playing it safe in most situations myself. Puka's on a snap count, keep him on the bench. That's kind of how I feel, Josh, myself. A lot of new names here on YouTube. Again, would love you guys to please join that Wolfpack. A free way to support us. In addition to those super chats, you can cut the line and help keep the lights on here financially. But even more easy is just hitting that click it quick, the thumbs up button, the heart button on Twitter, wherever you guys are watching from. It really does help us grow so much. And hit that sub so we can hit that 5K as we keep climbing. Start Puka, Kirk, or Douglas. Now, this is one, Jason, where it's like that is one where Puka's reward outweighs the risk to me. Like Kirk and Douglas, they could be zeros too. So why not go for the guy that could be just the best top receiver in the league type of thing? Amari Cooper or Puka? I would definitely go Amari over Puka, though. I certainly have him higher in the ranks. I have JSN Downs and rolling with Puka. See, I would definitely go him over Downs. JSN's a little closer, but I can't blame you. JSN himself has been hit or miss. I'm very intrigued to see what he does without DK this week. I'm going to go Cooper over Puka, though. Yes, I agree with you, Body, helping out some people out there. PPR, start Goff. You've repeated that one way too many times, Rex. I'm playing Kupp, McLaurin, and leaving Puka. Yeah, I totally agree with that one, Kyle. And then play Tua this week or Geno Smith. I would go Geno Smith over Tua myself, but that one is close without DK. Hunter Henry or Jake Ferguson? Definitely Jake Ferguson for me, Mr. Russo. Even though Hunter Henry does look great with Drake May, I don't love the Jets matchup. Goff or Caleb, good problem to have. I would go Caleb myself. Love the Washington matchup, and he's just been cooking, Kyle. Puka or Addison tonight? I would go Addison over Puka for sure. Christopher Deans. Puka needs to get some contact and will be on limited snaps. Yeah, I think that's a good point too. Maybe this is just them getting his legs under him, let him take some hits, feel himself out. But again, I do think there's like a real chance that he takes some hits, looks great, and plays the whole game and is a top 10 receiver. There is that upside, but I'm leaning to be conservative tonight. The 49ers defense going to tank? No, I think they're fine, but I don't know. I don't love them in fantasy anyways. Yeah, I'm playing Addison over Puka myself. Unexpected news or surprise inactives. Tom Brady's out. Yeah, you better watch out for that one, Jaws. But no, I think it's more so surprising that Puka is playing is the big thing here. Kupp or Adams? Definitely Kupp. He's a top 6 wide receiver for me. I would absolutely go with that one. Are these guys live or recorded? Kyle, we are live, as you probably realized at this point. You were asking that one at 7:30, about 25 minutes ago. So hopefully you've seen that we are live right now. Sit one, D. Adams, Garrett Wilson, or Cooper Kupp. I would sit one of the Jets for sure. You're definitely playing Cooper Kupp. I'd probably sit Garrett, but I like them both. But yeah, you're definitely sitting at least one of the Jets, and I would lean sitting Garrett. Coleman going to go off. I'd go Shakir. Seems like the steadier bet there, Dylan, but it's tough. As you said already, we saw Coleman go off last week. I think he's going to be big hit or miss, though, myself. Deontay or Puka? Lucas with Bryce Young playing QB. I really think this might be part of the spots where I'm like, okay, yeah, let's fire up Puka. I don't want to trust Bryce Young, and Deontay was a 0 last week anyways. He's banged up and hurt. I'm going to go Puka there, Lucas, over Deontay Johnson. I'm bumping Puka over a handful of guys here. I'm also bumping Deontay down. I really do not like him with Surtain also playing this week. I want him on the bench, no doubt about it. I'm much lower than ECR on him. Purdy or Darnold, asks Josh Campa. I would go that's tough. I'm going to go Darnold tonight, though, is what I would feel here, Campa. But good question. Tough one. And then we got Kupp or Puka in non-PPR. I would definitely go Kupp over Puka. I mean, we saw one game from Kupp this year as a 44% target share, 21 targets. He's just the man. In all the talk all preseason was he's retaken his throne. Shakir or Puka? I would go Shakir over Puka, Ben. I lean that way myself. I would go Addison definitely over Myers, Jonathan. Way more upside, way more talent. Goff or Purdy? I'm going to go Purdy in that one. I really don't think Goff's going to need to do much for this team to beat the Tennessee Titans. I think he's going to be just fine throwing the rock like 15 times. Lockett or Puka? And no DK, so this does make things a little interesting. I'd probably go with Lockett in this one. I'm realizing I have Lockett a little too low here, so I'm gonna bump up Lockett myself. Him versus Puka, though, I'll go Lockett. He's got a good ceiling, in addition to a nice floor. Without DK in the lineup, he's always stepped up big. So I'm gonna go Lockett there. Cody asking Tua or Darnold. I lean Darnold. I think Tua is one that I want to see. Similar to Puka at the QB position now, I would like to see Tua make it through a game. I'm just updating my rankings. Just give me 1 second, Wolfpack. I'm going to bump up Bateman because the more I've answered questions about him, the more I really do like him. I like him over Sutton. I like him over Judy. I like these guys a lot. And I'm going to bump up Lockett just a handful of spots here as well. All righty. Thank you guys for your patience. Should I start Addison again? Depends who it is, Craig. Addison or Ladd? I would go Addison in that case. More explosive, averaging the most separation, the highest separation score in the league right now. So yeah, I really like going Addison tonight. Madison or Jordan? Is Jordan Mason? I'm trying to think of who else Jordan would be. If it's Jordan Mason, it's easily Jordan Mason. Maybe his last start of the year, he's going to be motivated to ball out. And, Madison's getting a tough matchup against the Chiefs, the worst matchup for running backs. Meanwhile, Dallas is giving up like top 3 points to backs. Yeah, it's definitely Jordan Mason, unless I'm trying to think. I feel like I'm forgetting like a name. Like Cam Jordan keeps popping in mind, but I know that's not fantasy at all. So I don't know. Let me know who I'm not thinking of, Ben. But yeah, again, I go Addison over Ladd, Darnold or Williams. Oh, Zion. That's a tough one. I think I just feel good about Darnold. Nice and safe, like 20 points. Here they come. Debo or Nacua this week? Definitely Debo for me, Adam. 10 out of 10 times this week. Nacua or Daddle? Great show, boys. Thank you, Crypto Knight. I'm going to go. This is where, again, I go Nacua. The risk versus the reward. At this point, Daddle could be a 0, so why not go for the guy in Nacua that could be a top 10 wide receiver is where I would kind of feel. And I'm starting both Puka and Addison. Hell with it. Hey, there you go. Fire it up. Have some fun on a Thursday night game. It's the second highest over-under of the week, 48.5 total. It could definitely shootout here. Where does Nacua sit in the running back rankings? Do I start him over Dowdle? Yes, I do start him over Dowdle. Compared to backs, I would say I would draw the line for Nacua right around maybe Zach Moss, Austin Eckler, Tyler Algier. I'd rather have Nacua. I'd rather have Nacua than Tyron Tracy. So, yeah, I think right around like Nick Chubb is where I would probably draw the line there for Puka in terms of comparing him to running backs, like running back 25 or so. 10-point full PPR. Kamara owner declined to offer BTJ, Mondre, and Rico. Today he counts Kamara for BTJ and Mondre. He must have seen recent news. I think it's the broken hand on Kamara. I'd rather have BTJ, honestly, at this point. But if you need the running back, it's not bad, Matt Friend, especially in full PPR when Carr comes back. Should I start Puka or Tank Dell? I would go Tank Dell, Soccer 88 King. The Indianapolis matchup is just too damn good. Darnold or Dak? I would lean Darnold in this one. Definitely safer option here. We saw Dak come out of the bye and go absolutely bananas last year. Could happen again, Jerry, but I'm going to go Darnold. He's been nice and steady for the vast majority this year. Fatty, where the hell have you been? You have been MAI. Great to see you as well. Hey, you're welcome, Adam. Thank you for using some polite manners. And everybody out there, if you want to thank me, a free way to do so is that thumbs up button. Help us get out to more people, grow the channel. Would love, I don't know if I've seen Adam, Jerry, some of these new names, Molly, Whoop. Would love to have you guys subscribe to the channel here and join over here at the Wolfpack. We go live 3 times a week. We'll be live again on Sunday, 8 a.m. I'll be answering all of your questions ahead of Sunday kickoff. We do a nice waiver wire show, and then we'll pop up for random like strength of schedule, trade shows, those type of things as well. We love answering your questions. We'd love to have you be a part of it. So thank you again so much. Please do consider hitting that like button, the heart button, all that good stuff, and continuing to help us grow the channel. Dive Evolution. Amari, McLaurin, or Addison need 2. I'm leaning Amari, and I think McLaurin for right now. Although, I mean, with the QB concerns, it's tricky because, like they said, Daniels might practice tomorrow. He might be in, and I think it is worth waiting it out for McLaurin. Do like Addison. I could see that. Amari is my favorite of these options. I am then leaning McLaurin because I do want to see if we do get Jane Daniels, then it's a must play. But for right now, I just don't think I'd put Addison in over them. But that's really close to evolution. If you're just like, you know what, screw it, YOLO, I'm getting Addison in and figuring out later. He's close. Like he's close to those guys. But I do have Amari and McLaurin just a bit higher myself. Puka or Rome, asks Molly Whoop. And that's where I definitely go Puka. You know, Dunze himself has been a 0 the vast majority of this year. So if I'm that's kind of my measuring stick. If I'm looking at this like wide receiver 30 to 40 range, all these guys have complete dud fall in the face potential, I'll go Puka. I'll just go for the guy that I drafted in round 1, send a message to the locker room, maybe put him in the flex, make him earn his keep, right? But I'm going to go Puka over Rome, no doubt about it for me. And then Fatty asking, full PPR, Terry, Debo, Garrett Wilson, or Puka. Need 3 out of them. I'm going to go Debo, I'm going to go Garrett, and I'm going to go Terry. I'm going to bench Puka there. I think you do have 3 good enough options to wait and see what does Puka do this week. That's how I would play that one, buddy. But great to see you, Fatty. I'm happy you are back in the saddle here with the RSJ. We have missed you for sure. Nick 70X Productions, Puka or Amari Cooper? I'm definitely going Amari Cooper on that one. Again, 16 points on just 34% of the routes. First week looked great, looked like a good fit, and that role will just continue to evolve for Amari. Love him in Buffalo. Darnold or AR rest of season playoffs? I'm going Darnold 10 out of 10 times. AR stinks, Tony. Guy can't throw a football. I know he's got the running legs, the upside. He's completing 47% of his passes on the year. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Flacco take over if this team gets into playoff contention. I'm definitely going Darnold. Kupp or Mason? Oh, nice question there. I'm going Cooper Kupp, though. I really think this man's going to get 18 targets. We talked about him at the top of the show. So if you guys are just coming in late, we do a preview of like what are the 4 biggest players and storylines we need to talk about. And I went into depth on Kupp, but the big takeaway was the Vikings are getting murdered by wide receiver ones. 23 for Reed, 22 for Garrett Wilson, and 22 for Amon-Ra St. Brown in half PPR these last 3 weeks. So if you go full PPR, those guys were pushing 30 points for multiple weeks in a row. And Kupp, 44% target share his first week, 21 targets. I think he walks right into 15 targets tonight at minimum and eats against this defense. He's great against the blitz too, and we know how blitz heavy this team is. Puka or Jay Reed. If not, so it's Amari and it's Jay Reed for me. You can't bench Amari against the Jags this week. He's going to go bananas. You got to play Jay Reed against the Jaguars this week. Go nuts. And Amari's, I just love the chemistry he has already with Josh Allen, and that role's going to only keep growing. My guy. Full PPR, Puka or Hubbard? That's a good one because I really don't like Hubbard with what's his name? Bryce Young at QB. I'm going to keep bumping him down the ranks. But I think Hubbard's just enough of a volume bet, assuming that Brooks is out, that, it's kind of his last game to start and he might be motivated. I'd probably go Hubbard there, Michael, but that is tough. That's a really, really close one. Full PPR, one receiver and flex Bigsby, Addison, Mooney, Keenan Allen, Dobbs, or Nacua. For the wide receiver here, I'm going to go Mooney. And then for the flex Chelsea, it's very dependent on Tank, Bigsby, and Travis Etienne's status. If Etienne's out, I feel like you kind of have to roll Bigsby, even though it's not the best of game flow situations for him. I wouldn't go Nacua tonight. I know you're kind of wondering, do I put him in here, get my guy in? I'd say I'd rather play Mooney. I'd rather play Addison. I would lock in again for the wide receiver. I'm playing Mooney. I'd probably, I'd get Addison in tonight. And then you can put Mooney into the flex. You can have Bigsby into the flex. Dobbs is an awesome option. You have some really nice plays here, Chelsea. But I think Addison warrants a little fire him up on Thursday night tonight. Let's see him get deep. Because as good as Dobbs has been these last 2 weeks, always leads the team in routes, very consistent in that sense. He has not been a steady target earner his whole career. I have Addison 26 and Dobbs 27. It couldn't be closer. And then I have Mooney 24. So it is very, very close. But I'm going to go Mooney, and then I'd go Addison, and then I'd go Dobbs is how I would rank those guys. And Michael asking, should I start Dobbs? And then clarifying it's Dobbs or Mooney. And I would go Mooney over Dobbs very, very slightly myself, Michael. And Tony asking, is Reed injured? I think he was questionable, but it's kind of that just veteran rest day. It didn't seem like anything overly concerning. We'll, of course, track it and update you guys as Sunday at 8 a.m. once we get more clear news. But for right now, I think Reed is ready to go, and it's too good of a matchup. You cannot have him on your bench against the Jags. Tua or Caleb? Definitely Caleb for me. A bad Commander secondary. Caleb just absolutely cooking, getting better and better by the week. So, yeah, definitely Caleb for me. And I would go all three of those running backs over JT. Let him get back in the lineup, acclimate himself. It's kind of perfect, though, to have JT waiting in the wings for when CMC comes back. You have JT. All right, see you, Mason. Hit the bench. Thank you for your service. And JT, here's a top 10 running back right into my lineup. You're set up pretty well there, Big D Bob. A lot of new names here again, guys. I love to see it. Thank you so much for jumping into the channel. We're a little bit lighter than we usually are. We usually have over 1,000 of us live, but hey, 821 is not a bad number. But as these new names come in, if you enjoy it, please do consider hitting that subscribe button and showing us some love with the thumbs up, with the heart. We'd love to get you new guys here. A lot of great questions coming in from Chelsea, from Big D Bob. Love the name too, Big D Bob. Michael Flores. We got some fun stuff coming in from you guys. Would love to have you join and be a regular here. We'll be live again at 8 a.m. on Sunday. Last few questions to wrap up here with Emmanuel Lopez asking McMillan or Nacua. This is where I'd probably go Nacua. Very intrigued to see what McMillan does, but it's certainly within the realm of possibility that he's a complete zero. So I'm going to go Nacua, fire it up. Again, that line Nacua for me is, if it's somebody that could just be a complete zero as well, why not go for the guy that we know has top 10 in his realm of outcome? So I'm going to go Nacua. And then we got my man with a super chat, Mr. Tracero Cinco. Thank you so much for the support here coming in towards the end here. Asking, Daniel's not looking like he's going to suit up this week. Should I go with May or Stafford with all his weapons back tonight? I said at the top of the show, Mr. Chase Sarasenko, Stafford's one of the best QBs against the blitz, which is what the Vikings do a ton. He's got all his weapons back. I really think we could see a great Stafford night. The only reason I'm like, I would definitely have him over May. If it comes down to Stafford versus May, I'd go Stafford. There are reports that Daniels might practice. They want to see what he looks like tomorrow. Because if he's playing, it's not even close to a question. You're going Daniels and you don't even think twice. So it's one of those things, is passing on Stafford to get to Daniels worth it if May is your next backup option here. I struggle with that because I really do love Stafford tonight. I think he's in a great spot. But I think if there's any semblance of hope for Daniels, if you're really feeling in your gut like there's no way he plays, he probably doesn't. I would lean going Stafford tonight. But man, that's tricky because any possible hope for Daniels is a great potential spot. So thank you so much again, Mr. Trey Sarasenko. I personally would think I'd just fire up Stafford tonight with all the weapons back, but that is a tough call. And I'd hate to see Daniels get ruled active right after you play Stafford. He gets you like 15. That would be pretty annoying. Nacua, Debo, or Reed? Definitely Jaden Reed for me. I know a lot of people seem a little scared about Reed this week. I'm shocked. I know he had that one dud last week, but I mean, he's been rock solid week in and week out with 30-point upside multiple times this year. And now he gets the Jags. It is such a great smash spot for him. Thank you so much, Chelsea. Really, yeah, absolutely. I'm so happy you found it informative. Hope I get it right for you, but I at least like to present a little info to help you make your right decisions. And if you like it, please subscribe. We'd love to have you back. Molly Whoop asking, would you play Rome or Keenan Allen? I would definitely pick up D-Hop. There's no doubt about it. And I would drop Rome. It seems like Keenan Allen is a little more established there. And Rome just hasn't done anything. He's had one big game all year. So I'd love to see what D-Hop does. We going Shakir or Nacua, asked Chuck. We've gotten that one a bunch. I am leaning Shakir. The ceiling is obviously undoubtedly higher with Nacua. But I think Shakir is still in a good spot, especially in a full PPR league where you get those points for those receptions. So that's where I am leaning myself. But it's tough. It's close. It's about 5 receivers separating these guys. And if you want the upside, Nacua has far more, as we all know at this point. You're welcome. Thank you for being here, Emmanuel Lopez. Appreciate your great questions and support of the show. Puka or Dell, we've gotten that one a bunch, and we are going Tank Dell is where I lean on that one. Start Puka over Higgins. No way. T. Higgins has more targets over the last 3 weeks than Jamar Chase in their active games together. Higgins is a target hog for Joe Burrow, and I'm going to keep riding that one out, Eric Buckman. And soon enough, you might be doing this one, Puka over him. But I think T is one of the best receiver picks you could have this year. So I'm going to keep riding that one out. No doubt about it. Alejandro, Puka, Dell, or Stevenson for the flex. I'm leaning Dell there. Again, the matchup against Indy is just too juicy, too vulnerable. The most deep plays other than the Ravens so much. So I would go Dell for sure. Thank you so much. Hey, you guys are so kind. I appreciate the kind manners there. You're welcome, lady on VR GT. Taysom Hill or Mark Andrews? I got to go Mark Andrews there, really. I know the route share is still sketchy, like 50-ish%, but, man, he's doing some damage with it. He's looking better and better by the week. I think he really was dealing with an injury, and it's starting to come into his own. And Molly also using a great thanks, broski. Much appreciated. You're welcome. And one last call. If you do appreciate what you have, that seems to be the last question or comment we hear. A thumbs up on your way out would be so greatly appreciated. My rankings are at rotostreetjournal.com is the website where all my rankings are hosted. All of our content. We have such a great writing staff. Of course, we have all the content here on YouTube as well. Would love you guys to subscribe. I'll be back on Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Would be awesome to have you guys join me there as well. Look forward to seeing hopefully some repeats. Hopefully you guys sub to the channel and join in. A lot of new names tonight with a lot of great questions and interactions and positive vibes. So hopefully we'll get you guys there. Again, one last call for rotostreetjournal.com. One last call for a thumbs up and a hot button over there on YouTube. Would love to see you guys. Hopefully we get it all right for you. Hopefully you get all the points you need tonight in a great matchup. Michael Flores, I would go DJ Moore over Mooney as we sign off here. In a world full of fancy sheep, guys, be the wolf. Thanks again. Have a just great Thursday football.